There is something alive in you that you did not choose. A force older than your thoughts, deeper than your identity, more relentless than your plans. It moves through you. It breathes you. It wants through you. And most of the time, you mistake it for yourself. You think you were the one deciding what to pursue, what to love, what to fear, what to want. But Arthur Schopenhauer saw something else. He saw a blind, insatiable force at the center of all existence, a force that does not care about your happiness, a force that does not ask permission, a force that simply is, endlessly striving, endlessly hungering, endlessly pushing life forward into more life. He called it the will.
Not your will, not willpower, not intention or choice or personal agency. The will, the metaphysical ground of everything, the pulse beneath all phenomena. And according to Schopenhauer, this will is not gentle. It is not wise. It is not guiding you toward peace or fulfillment or enlightenment. It is blind. It is relentless. It is the reason you suffer. This is not a comforting philosophy. This is not self-help disguised as metaphysics. This is Schopenhauer telling you that you are not the author of your wanting. That beneath your conscious desires, beneath your sense of self, there is something primal and impersonal driving everything you do. And the moment you see it, the moment you recognize it moving through you, the world changes.
Before we go further, ask yourself this. What do you want? Not in the abstract, not philosophically. Right now, what do you actually want? Maybe it's rest. Maybe it's recognition. Maybe it's connection, control, escape, vindication, love. Now ask a harder question. Why do you want it? And don't give yourself the easy answer. Don't say, because it would make me happy, or because I deserve it, or because it's good for me. Go deeper. What in you is demanding it? What hunger is beneath the hunger? What impulse is older than your reasoning? Schopenhauer would say, you are not the source of this wanting. You are its expression. You are its instrument. You are the way the will manifests in this particular body, this particular life, this particular moment. And the will does not care what you think you want. It wants only one thing, to perpetuate itself, to keep moving, to keep striving, to keep living through you, whether you consent or not. Think about your own life, the desires that arrive unbidden, the cravings you cannot explain, the restlessness that refuses to settle, the hunger that returns no matter how much you feed it. You achieve the goal and immediately need another. You satisfy one desire and 3 more emerge. You fill the emptiness and it widens. This is not a flaw in you. This is the will. This is the force Schopenhauer spent his life trying to understand and trying to escape. He was born into a world that believed in progress, in reason, in the inevitable improvement of humanity. The Enlightenment promised that knowledge would free us, that science would save us, that civilization would elevate us. Schopenhauer looked at this optimism and saw delusion. He saw humans chasing satisfaction that would never arrive. He saw suffering built into the very structure of existence. And he asked the question no one else dared to ask. What if life itself is the problem? Not your life, not this particular arrangement of circumstances. Life, the condition of being alive, the condition of being a body driven by needs, a mind haunted by desires, a soul that cannot rest. Schopenhauer believed that to be alive is to want, and to want is to suffer, because wanting means lacking. Desiring means incompleteness. Striving means dissatisfaction. And the will never stops wanting. You feel this. You know this. The moment you get what you wanted, the satisfaction dissolves. The promotion doesn't fill you the way you thought it would. The relationship doesn't complete you. The achievement doesn't quiet the restlessness. And so you reach for the next thing, and the next, and the next. Not because you are broken, not because you are doing it wrong, but because the will is using you. It is moving through you, and it will not stop until your body stops. Schopenhauer called this the will to live. Not a choice, not a philosophy, a blind, unconscious force that drives all living things toward survival, toward reproduction, toward continuation. The plant breaks through stone to reach sunlight. The animal hunts even when it is not hungry. The human builds empires, writes symphonies, falls in love, goes to war, all because the will demands it. All because life wants more life. And you, with your thoughts and your dreams and your sense of self, are just the vehicle. This is the hardest truth Schopenhauer offers, that you are not in control, that your desires are not truly yours, that the self you think you are is a thin layer of consciousness floating on an ocean of blind striving. Beneath your personality, beneath your identity, beneath your hopes and fears, there is something older and stronger and more relentless than you will ever be, and it is living you. Most people never see this. They live their entire lives believing their desires are their own, believing their choices are free, believing they are the authors of their wanting. Schopenhauer saw through this illusion, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You begin to notice the will everywhere, in your hunger, in your ambition, in your loneliness, in your attraction, in your fear of death, in your need to be seen, to be loved, to matter. All of it, expressions of the will. All of it, the blind force using you to perpetuate itself.
And the cruelty of the will is this: it does not care about your happiness. It does not care if you suffer. It cares only about continuation, about survival, about reproduction, about the endless, meaningless repetition of life into more life. You are born. You want. You strive. You suffer. You die. And the will moves on to the next body, the next life, the next iteration, forever. Schopenhauer did not write this to be pessimistic. He wrote it because he believed it was true. And he believed that truth, no matter how painful, is better than illusion. That clarity, no matter how dark, is better than delusion. That seeing the will for what it is gives you the only freedom you will ever have, the freedom to stop obeying it blindly. But how do you stop obeying a force that is deeper than your consciousness? How do you resist something that is using your body, your mind, your desires as its instrument? Schopenhauer's answer was radical. You don't fight the will, you see it, you recognize it. You understand that your suffering comes from identification with it, from believing that you are your desires, from mistaking the will's hunger for your own. He believed that most human suffering is caused by attachment, by clinging, by the refusal to let go. You want something. You believe that getting it will complete you. You strive for it. You achieve it. And the satisfaction lasts for a moment before the wanting returns. And so you suffer, not because you failed, but because you succeeded and discovered that success does not end the hunger. This is the cycle Schopenhauer saw everywhere. The cycle of desire and disappointment, of striving and dissatisfaction, of wanting and suffering. And he asked, What if the way out is not to satisfy the will, but to deny it? What if freedom comes not from getting what you want, but from no longer wanting? He looked to the East, to Buddhism, to Hinduism, to philosophies that had already articulated what the West refused to see: that desire is the root of suffering, that attachment is the chain, that liberation comes not from fulfillment, but from renunciation. Schopenhauer was one of the first Western philosophers to take these ideas seriously, to integrate them into a metaphysical system, to say the Buddha was right, and here is why. He believed that the highest form of human life is not ambition or achievement or pleasure. It is the denial of the will, the quieting of desire, the cessation of striving. He called this the path of asceticism, not because he hated life, but because he understood that to be fully alive, in the way the will demands, is to be fully enslaved.
And yet, Schopenhauer did not live as an ascetic. He ate well. He loved music. He kept a poodle he adored. He walked every day at the same time, in the same way, with the precision of a man who found comfort in routine. He was vain about his work. He was bitter when it was ignored. He was cruel in his personal relationships. He was lonely. He was human. And perhaps this is the real lesson, that seeing the will does not free you from it. It simply shows you what you are up against. He knew suffering intimately. His father died when Schopenhauer was young, likely by suicide, though the family never spoke of it openly. His mother was cold, distant, more interested in her salon and her literary ambitions than in her son. Schopenhauer loved her and resented her in equal measure.
They fought bitterly. She told him his philosophy was too dark, too miserable, too unmarketable. She was right. His magnum opus, The World as Will and Representation, sold almost no copies in his lifetime. He lived for decades in obscurity, watching lesser minds receive the recognition he believed he deserved. And through all of this, he kept writing, kept refining his vision, kept articulating the truth as he saw it, not because he believed it would change anything, but because the will moved through him too. Even in his denial of the will, even in his philosophy of renunciation, he could not stop striving, could not stop wanting, could not stop being driven by the very force he spent his life trying to escape.
This is the paradox at the heart of Schopenhauer's philosophy, that to understand the will is to see that you cannot escape it, that even the desire for freedom is a form of desire, that even the act of renunciation is an act of the will. And so the philosopher becomes trapped in his own insight, aware of the cage, but unable to leave it. And yet, Schopenhauer believed there was one place where the will could be temporarily silenced, one realm where human beings could experience something beyond striving, beyond wanting, beyond suffering. He called it aesthetic contemplation, the experience of beauty, the moment when you stand before a painting or listen to music or watch the ocean, and for a few seconds or minutes or hours, you forget yourself. You forget your desires. You forget your needs. You forget your identity. And in that forgetting, you are free.
Art for Schopenhauer was not decoration. It was salvation. Temporary, fleeting, but real. Because in the presence of beauty, the will is momentarily stilled. You are no longer striving. You are no longer wanting. You are simply perceiving, simply being. And in that moment, you touch something beyond the will, something that does not hunger, something that simply is. He believed music was the highest art because it speaks directly to the will. It does not represent objects or ideas. It represents the inner movement of reality itself, the striving, the longing, the tension and release, the rise and fall of the will in its purest form. And when you listen to music deeply, you are not escaping the will.
You are perceiving it clearly. You are hearing the truth of existence without the filter of concepts or language or thought. And strangely, in that clarity, there is peace. But the peace does not last. The music ends, the painting fades from view. You return to your body, your desires, your life. And the will resumes its work. The hunger returns. The striving continues. And you are reminded, once again, that you are not free. Schopenhauer's philosophy is not hopeful. It does not promise transformation. It does not offer a method for becoming better or happier or more fulfilled. It offers only one thing: clarity. The clarity to see what is moving you, the clarity to understand why you suffer, the clarity to recognize that the wanting will never end as long as you are alive.
And maybe that clarity is enough. Maybe seeing the will is the only freedom available. Not freedom from it, but freedom within it. The freedom to stop blaming yourself for your restlessness. The freedom to stop believing that satisfaction is just one more achievement away. The freedom to understand that the hunger is not personal. It is the condition of being alive. You are not broken because you cannot find peace. You are not failing because the wanting returns. You are simply alive. And to be alive is to be inhabited by a force that will never stop moving until your body stops. Schopenhauer is asking you to see this, not to change it, not to fix it, just to see it.
And when you see it clearly, something shifts. Not in the world, in you. You stop fighting the hunger. You stop resenting the wanting. You stop expecting life to satisfy you in a way it was never designed to do. And in that acceptance, not resignation, but acceptance, there is a strange kind of rest. Not the rest of satisfaction, the rest of understanding, the rest of knowing what you are up against, the rest of seeing the will and no longer mistaking it for yourself. This is what Schopenhauer offers. Not comfort, not hope, not a path to happiness, but the truth, the dark, difficult, undeniable truth that you are not the author of your wanting, that something older and deeper is moving through you, that life is not a gift, it is a condition, and the only way out is through seeing clearly.
So look at your desires, look at your restlessness, look at the hunger that never ends, and ask yourself, is this mine or is this the will? Am I choosing this or am I being lived by something I do not control? Schopenhauer cannot give you the answer, only you can, but he can give you the question. And sometimes the question is enough. Sometimes seeing the will is the beginning of something that feels like freedom, even if it is only the freedom to stop pretending you were ever in control.